that we've been having on the 1873 FM, and you are very much also inspired and ignited to think and act outside boxes, particularly from the insights that the individuals that we have been speaking to, and more importantly, the listeners, the viewers who have also been sharing their comments, their remarks pertaining to these conversations. That in itself is getting you to into action as an individual, to be a problem solver within your community. And yes, radio plays a fundamental role in as far as bridging the gaps when it comes to projecting stories, when it comes to articulating issues, and more importantly, when it comes to just zooming on the problem matter that is at hand that needs to be addressed. And when you look at our communities, they're very much divided, and media can actually play a critical role in bridging that divide. And it is that time of the day when we cross over to the diplomatic corner, where as individuals, where we get to also inform you as far as what is taking place, and not only in South Africa but beyond South Africa and beyond the region, in as far as the role that those who serve in the diplomatic community play in bridging the divide when it comes to building these communities that are inclusive, that are also progressive, that are also prosperous. And yesterday I had a very interesting conversation. If you missed the conversation, well, you can be able to catch up on that conversation that is on Facebook, the 1873 FM Facebook page, a conversation that I had with Susan Novella, who happens to be the CEO of the Diplomatic Informer, a member of the media who is going beyond journalism and doing exceptional work in as far as ensuring that at the end of the day, when it comes to the development of South Africa, particularly in the education sector, where students are challenged, the diplomatic community is also playing a part in ensuring that a burden is lifted and ensuring that those students can also have a brighter future. And you too can also play a part in as far in ensuring that when it comes to the problems that we face within our communities, they can be addressed by you adding your voice, and more importantly, honoring those individuals who are making a difference towards a future which is inclusive, progressive, and also prosperous. Well, Tapiwa Chambiwa, a wonderful morning to you. Glad to know that you are also tuned in and you are following the show. And yesterday, a very interesting comment I saw, particularly when it comes to this segment, was whether there is a need for such a radio. And he stated in South Africa, by the way, this platform does not only serve in South Africa, but it serves globally, as it is an internet radio platform which individuals all around the globe can have access to. So Tapiwa, when you come to think of the role that radio has to play in as far as bridging the divide, do you think that enough is being done in as far as addressing the challenges that are dividing us as human beings? If not so, what do you think needs to be done, and how best can issues be articulated when you look at the issues that are of essence for us to tackle on these media platforms? Do you think that there is a need for this particular radio platform as an individual who follows the 1873 FM? We'd love to hear from the viewers or from the listeners, their take in as far as radio that speaks to the issues that they think ought to be discussed at the end of the day. And what sort of issues do we need to articulate, or do we need to zoom on a daily basis? And talking about issues that matter on this particular day, that is the 25th of February. It is also known as Kuwait National Day. Kuwait National Day is celebrated on the 25th of February each year, and the date marks Sheikh Abdullah Al Salem Al Sabah's ascension to the throne of Kuwait in 1950. This date also marks Sheikh Abdullah Al Salem Al Sabah's death in 1965. In an effort to compete with the Ottoman Empire, he sought to modernize Kuwait, which was originally a fishing village, a nation that has become an active voice for cooperation and the region and internationally. And what catches my attention is the fact that Kuwait in itself is become a nation, is a nation that has become an active voice for cooperation regionally and internationally. And when you look at radio in itself, radio absents the individuals who play a part in their voice being heard on issues that matter. It is good as dead. But when individuals have their voice heard on issues that matter, and individuals become active on issues that matter, that in itself is a differentiator, and that in itself fosters cooperation amongst individuals regionally and internationally. To the people of Kuwait, to the people of Kuwait, and more importantly, on this day, we wish them happy National Day. We wish the people of the state of Kuwait a happy National Day. And yes, and let's quickly go on a short break and keep it locked on your channel of choice. Good morning to you, Cham Ryan Mbesa. Glad to know that you are also tuned in to the 1873 FM and you are following the conversation. And when we're back, we continue with our conversation.
This DJ just turns you.
to you, and thank you for joining us this morning on the 1873 FM's Diplomatic Quota.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, not, I'm actually very excited today after having received at least relieving news, but that is the story for later. But in the meantime, how are you doing yourself, Mr. Mawere, this morning?
Pretty good.
Yes.
And I think thanks for touching on an area that we sometimes rarely talk about.
Mm-hmm.
When we say the role of the media, it's really the role of all of us in sharing ideas, insights on what matters. Radio is just one of many platforms.
Absolutely.
So when one talks of international relations,
Mm-hmm.
what comes to mind?
Yeah, that is a very interesting question. What comes to mind when you talk of international relations? And one thing that quickly comes to my mind as an individual when I think of international relations, I think of those who serve in the diplomatic community, ambassadors, for instance, high commissioners, for instance.
You're already going ahead. International relations relates to the relationship between which parties?
International relations. Wow, this is a question that I'd never actually thought about, and I think it's an opportunity also for me to learn what it means. Maybe we could start off from there.
Yeah, it is a relationship between nation states,
Mm-hmm.
not between individuals.
Yes.
So we recognize that the world is organized, or the people, the human beings are organized in nation states.
Mm-hmm.
And each state is like an individual.
Yes.
So the relationship between two individuals who don't live in the same country is like a buyer and seller.
Yes.
So there are two parties and they're equal.
Yes.
So it's to be a relationship between Lesotho and South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So when a person born and living in Lesotho marries a person born and living in South Africa, it's not international relations.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, yes.
That's person to person.
Yes.
So we need people to also look at the relationship between countries. How close is the relationship? How friendly is the relationship?
Mm-hmm.
So you find President Trump is in India.
Yes.
There is a relationship between President Trump
And President Modi.
and Prime Minister Modi.
Yes.
But that is not the relationship between the two countries.
Mm-hmm.
So you would visit a person you have good relations with.
Yes.
And when you visited, you found that Ivanka and Jared were also part of the visit.
Mm-hmm.
So it then takes a family tone.
Yes.
So there are people, presidents, prime ministers, kings, chiefs who have a personal relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is close
Mm-hmm.
with the heads of state and government of another country.
Mm. So, Mr.
So
Mal,
you may be a friendly person, and when you meet at conferences,
yes.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the question that I wanted to pose to you, Mr. Mawere, I mean, after sharing with us this beautiful information that you have, this knowledge that you have shared with us, and I've learned something about it. That when we talk of international relations, it's
Hello?
I'm
Go ahead.
hello. Yes, I'm saying that it's very interesting that what you have shared with us this morning on the 1873 FM platform. In the sense that I've come to learn that international relations are relations between state nations. And when you look at that aspect of international relations and just projecting the relations between nation states, in your experience, uh, are there any individuals that you have seen or identified, or rather that you know of, that best speak to this aspect of international relations, who happen to be journalists? Hello, Mr. Moore? Hello? Hello, Mr. Moore?
Yeah, when you look at literacy and how you improve knowledge, and can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, when you look at the role of the media in raising awareness
Yes.
about this area of relationships,
Mm-hmm.
you may find that there are few who actually understands what international relations is all about.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say safely that I don't know of any platform where these issues are unpacked
Mm.
in a simplified manner, and even if you look at people who are studying journalism
Mm-hmm.
and you're asking them what is the so this is obvious the literacy around the need to have diplomats,
Yes.
the need to have countries represented in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at South Africa, you find that there are 136 embassies that are that have offices in South Africa,
Yes.
and the high commissions and the consulates. So this is one of the things that would then help understand that each of the embassies here, they are actually doing something
Mm-hmm.
to improve the relationship between South Africa and the country that is represented here.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them just have relations in terms of opening missions or offices, but others actually have programs of cooperation.
Mm. Yes.
That will be the cooperation between South Africa and those countries represented here,
Mm-hmm.
where those countries support different causes
In South Africa.
that help lift the people of South Africa up.
Mm. Mm.
So that understanding, when you look at diplomats or diplomatic news, you may find that there are many diplomats who live here, but they never left the countries where that they represented.
Mm.
So now no one in South Africa actually knows what they're doing.
Yes.
And they don't have platforms to share. And even some of the editors will not even take time like what we're doing to give a quota where knowledge about international relations and cooperation is shared.
Mm-hmm.
So you will have 136 stories, one embassy at a time,
Yes.
just to talk about what they're doing, the climate, the relationship, because even when countries are no longer
Hello. Yes, hello, Mr. M. Okay, yes, we've been distracted a bit there, and yes, yeah, maybe we can be able to wrap up the conversation. We can be able to wrap up the quarter.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah. So that's for the day, just to know what literacy around
International relations.
the relations and also cooperation.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, Mr. Mawere, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for your contribution to the diplomatic quarter this morning. And definitely, we look forward to learning more, and also not just learning, but also sharing what we have come to. The I in the we as an individual, in as far as building communities that work for all. And yes, I'm inspired, ignited to be also an individual who projects the story of these individuals who happen to be, in fact, who happens to be an individual who happens to project the story of international relations. On that note, thank you so much, Mr. Mawere. You have yourself a lovely day further. All right. So as we come to the end of the quarter, we go on a short break. But before we go on the short break, good morning to Susan Novella. Good morning to Temba Emmanuel Mashobane. And good morning to Lovejoy Dumapanzi. Glad to know that you are tuned in and you are following the show. And as we go on that short break, sounds of the 1873 United Artists, yes, with a track titled Purpose.